In this short video, we are going to see the process of conversion of planned order to production order and its impact in the stock requirement list of both the finished goods and the component, as well as the stock overview of the component. Now, after you run the MRP, the demand and supply is expected to be balanced, and planned orders are created as instruments that will help in balancing the demand and supply element. So from this process onwards, it is usually the responsibility of the production or operations managers to take the planned order into the production process. And in order to do that, they need to convert the planned order to production order. Now, under normal circumstance, you would convert the whole of planned order to production order, but in this training video, we might need to use the planned order multiple times. Hence, we will convert the planned order to production order partially. Now, let us first look at what is the present scenario in the stock requirement list, and then convert the planned order to production order partially and see what is the change that happens in the stock requirement list as well as the stock overview. So for convenience of recording, I have already kept open the two screens showing the stock requirement list of the finished goods, which is DXTR, and the stock requirement list of raw material component, which is PRKT, which is one of the key components of the finished good, as well as the stock overview screen for PRKT. Now, for this particular cycle, there is no need to observe the stock overview screen of DXTR, because till the time DXTR is produced, there is no change that can be expected in the stock overview of DXTR. At this stage, we're just converting the planned order to production order. The process of production has not started yet, and hence there's no reason why the stock overview of DXTR should change. So if you look at the current state of the stock requirement list of DXTR, you can see that the overall state is balanced in terms of demand and supply, because the net demand and supply result is 0. And you can see some planned orders that have been generated. One of these planned orders we are going to partially convert to production. If you see the stock requirement list of PRKT, we see that at this point of time, this stock requirement list of PRKT is also balanced, which means for PRKT also the demand and supply is balanced. And if you go to the stock overview of PRKT, you will see that there is unrestricted stock of 1483. There is a stock that is reserved for orders which are already existing in the system, the 350. It is not in addition to unrestricted, but within the unrestricted use of a soft reservation, and there's an on-order stock. That means stock that I expect to receive based on the purchase order that is already placed. Now, let us go to another screen, which is also a stock requirement list of DXTR, and convert one of the planned orders to production order. So let's say this planned order, which is 700 units, we intend to convert 200 of this planned order to production order. Usually this is done by the operations manager when the operations manager decides that the production process may be considered to be starting. Okay. As I said, usually we'll convert the whole of planned order to production order, but for training purpose, we'll convert partially. If you double click this, you will see a screen popping up, and here you have the option of converting the whole of the planned order to production order, but we'll not take the option, we'll take the other option, which is converting partially the planned order to production order. There are other conversion options like converting into process order or sub-process order or purchase requisition, but in this exercise, we are not interested in these options. So let us go to partially convert to production order. And it by default tells me the quantity equal to the production order, but we say that we are going to change this to 200. Just we need to remember this number because we need to see if there is any change on based on this to the stock requirement list and stock overview. So this 200 has been converted to production order. Once we save this, the production order will get saved. If there's any other value that I need to fill up mandatorily, SAP will tell me, so I don't need to bother about that. So let me save this. And it is just giving me a warning that only partial quantities of the planned order is converted to purchase order. I'm okay with that. That's a conscious decision. And now this production order 100182 has been created. Now, in some cases, you may see a pop-up screen which says that there's a shortage of component materials, and it will give you a list of short materials which are not available. Now, this usually happens when the components that are required to make this production order for DXTR, which will be taken from the bill of materials, they are not available in stock. Now, you may have the question that since this is being run after the MRP, and we saw that the components are balanced in the stock requirement list, the demand and supply is balanced in the stock requirement list, why still there should be a shortage? Remember, the stock requirement list provides a demand and supply situation, and supply indicates both the present stock on hand as well as anticipated supply, which means that anticipated stock from purchase requisitions, purchase orders, and other sources. It doesn't mean that it's a stock that is available in hand. So this is fine when you're planning. When we're starting to execute, you need the physical stock in place. It is not good enough to say that the stock will be arriving in a few days or few months' time through a purchase order. So that is why it is possible that while your stock requirement list is balanced, the demand and supply is balanced in the stock requirement list, it shows a material shortage. Now, depending on how the production order is configured from companies to companies, in some cases, you may be allowed to release it forcibly. That means you release it at your own risk, and later on you check whether how to arrange for the material, or it may not allow you to release it at all. If the production order is not released, then the production order cannot be processed further. Okay. So for this particular case, it is released and has been created. There's no warning that has come up, which means all the materials are available. And you can actually see that when you go and check the material. We'll see that very soon. Now, our first job is to figure out what changed in the stock requirement list, if at all anything changed, subsequent to the creation of this production order. Now, we have to first look at this demand and supply position. And do we think that the overall demand and supply position is going to change so that this value 0 is going to change? The answer is probably no, because planned order is already a supply element, and all that we did was to convert a part of the planned order to production order. So there is no new supply that is coming in, only the nature of supply is changing. Is there any new demand element coming in? The answer is no. So this net demand and supply is not going to change. However, the nature of supply is going to change in the sense that a part of the planned order is now converted to production order. So this 700 should come down to 500, and 200 should be added as a new type of supply called production. So let us see whether this happens. You can see it has happened. There's no change in the net demand and supply position. The planned order has come down to 500, and a new element of supply production order has been added. Now let us look at the position of BRKT. What is going to change as far as BRKT is concerned? For BRKT also, there is no change in the net demand and supply position. So this 0 is expected to remain as 0. The demand and supply should be balanced. But what is likely to change is that the nature of demand might be changing in this situation. Right now, the nature of demand, right now means before the creation of production order, there was a dependent requirement of 700 of demand. However, now this dependent requirement has become more certain in the sense that the requirement is now against an order. So there will be a reservation of 200 units against the order. The new demand element is for 200. Okay. And then that will be netted off against dependent requirement of 700, which will now come down to 500. So let us refresh this and see if that happens. So you see the dependent requirement has come down by 200 and a new demand element called order reservation has been created. But net demand and supply position is same. Now let us see what is the change that has happened in the stock overview of BRKT. As we mentioned, that is unlikely to be any change in the stock overview of DXTR, the finished goods, and hence we are not looking at that. So as of now, it shows that there's unrestricted use of 1483, reserve 350, and on-order stock of 460. There's no reason why there should be a change in the unrestricted use stock because physically you have not consumed any stock or added any stock of PRKT. However, there's a new reservation that has come up of 200 units. So this 350 should increase by 200. Okay. And there will be no change in the unrestricted stock. There is unlikely to be any change in the on-order stock because you have not received any material from purchase order against this particular cycle, or you have not created a new purchase order. Let us refresh to see whether our assumptions are correct. See that. Now, if you go and see the status of the production order, this production order has been created. The good idea to copy the production order number. So we will get the production order under production, and production order is the instrument through which you will start the production process, which will happen in the shop floor. So it should be available under shop floor. You see your order, and let us go to the change mode because we might need to change something. We'll talk about that. So let's go to the change mode and see how our order looks like. So we have already copied the order number, and let us over here. So this is our order. Now you can see certain things. For example, you can see what are the operations that need to be performed to make the exterior from the components. These operations are copied from the routing, which is the master data for operations. So as you can see that you need to perform material staging, attaching seat to frame, handle to bar. So these are the operations that you need to perform. It also tells you what are the components that are required to manufacture. And this is taken from the bill of material. So it gives you the list of components that are required and with the standard quantity that is required. Remember, this is different from actual. Actually, you may require more, usually more, sometimes less, because of various factors. For example, some material may get damaged while the production process is on. The actual quantity has to be recorded separately, but this is a standard quantity. Okay. Two things that you need to check before the production process actually starts. One is whether the material is available or not. Remember, we said that just because you run the MRP, which balances the demand and supply, doesn't mean the material is physically available. This is called material availability check. And you need to figure out the available to promise ATP for the components. Now, if some of you have received the warning that shortage of material happened because the material availability check was automatically run and it found that some materials are not available. Now, after you make the material available, you may want to run the material availability check again, and this time it should show that all materials are available. How do you do that? You can go to this more functions. Under more functions, availability check and material ATP. ATP means available to promise. And click on that. If the materials are available, it will show all check materials are available. If not, it will give you a warning saying that these materials are not available. The next thing that you need to check is the status of the order. This is where the status of the order is. You can see the details of the status of the order. The first status says that it's released. Now, if materials are available, then the order will be in the release state. That means you can start processing the order. There's another important component before you start processing the order, which is called the capacity check, where you see whether the capacities and the resources, apart from the materials are available, the machines, the people, etc. This entire process is called capacity planning. That's a complicated processing, especially when you're talking about constraint-based capacity planning. We are not covering that in this particular video. We're assuming that all capacities are available. It says pre-costed. Production order is also a vehicle to capture the production cost. And for that, certain calculations are already done by the system. So that's why it says pre-costed. Materials committed means that materials have been reserved, though it's a soft reservation for this production order. Now, this may not appear if you have shortage of materials, this status. And something called settlement rule, which is to do with costing. At the end of the period, you transfer the cost to a particular cost center. So that's done through the settlement rule. We're not covering that as well in this particular video. So, but you'll see this status there. So if these four statuses are there, you know that your production order is in good shape and you can start production process based on this. So this short video helps us to understand how you can convert a planned order to production order and what kind of change you may expect to see the stock requirement in the stock requirement list and the stock.